Hi, Al Borowski here again. Thank you for attending and participating in our recent business writing workshop. As part of the program, I promised Jim that I would reveal how Home Depot buckets can improve your business writing. I know what you're thinking. How can this guy possibly tie Home Depot buckets to business writing? Here's a more important question. Why should I invest 10 minutes to watch this video? Very simple. 3 significantly selfish reasons. Here's the first reason. People make important business decisions based on what you write. If you can save them time and get results for them, that makes you valuable. Here's another reason. Your personal and your corporate images are at stake every time you send a document, either a paper document or an electronic document. What we're talking about here is the what versus the how. What you write helps people make decisions. How you write determines what they think of you. And here's the third reason. People who communicate best, particularly in writing, are generally promoted faster and make more money. Anybody interested in making more money? These are the direct benefits of watching this video. You're going to discover new strategies that are easy to learn and that actually work. I'm sure many of you have attended business writing workshops where you got 1 or 2 ideas. In our workshop, we got 5 different ideas. Here comes the 6th. And these ideas will help you save time and get better results. So, as the Home Depot buckets say, let's do this. This whole idea of Home Depot buckets in business writing actually started when I was in kindergarten. Our principal decided we were going to hold the 8th grade graduation and the kindergarten graduation together, and it was going to be one big graduation ceremony. Sister Fatima decided that the kindergarten kids would create a rhythm band. Half the kids would be in the rhythm band, half the kids would be in a chorus. You can imagine my delight and excitement when Sister Fatima handed me a pair of drumsticks. My job was to sit on the stage and keep a beat, and that was a very simple beat that went 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and the chorus then recited the words to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and the rhythm band played while they recited Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. And that was the very basic rhythm that we played in the rhythm band. We also played Mary Had a Little Lamb. Now, after watching the video, tap that out to yourself and see if it's that same 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and rhythm, because it's the same thing. That started my journey to the Home Depot Buckets connection. In the 4th grade, 2 events changed my life. The first thing that happened is I was able then in 4th grade to be able to take drum lessons in the school. The second thing that happened is I heard this song by Hank Williams with the title Just Waitin'. I love that song. I was captured by that song. I love the rhythm. I love the melody. I love the story. I loved Hank's presentation. But then I realized Hank Williams was not singing a song. He was reciting a poem. I was hooked. I decided I was going to use Hank's melody and Hank's rhythm, but my 4th grade story. And I wrote a poem. As I said, I was hooked. Now, again, you're thinking, what do Home Depot buckets and poems have to do with business writing? Let me explain why this whole idea of writing a poem is important. When I talk about poetry, this is generally the look I get on kids' faces. I get this look on adult faces. Let's try to get this image in your brain when you think of poetry. Remember in the workshop I asked you to think about the lyrics to your favorite songs? I'm sure you know the lyrics to at least 5 or 10 of your favorite songs. And I told you that 95% of the words in those songs had either 1 syllable or 2 syllables. Very, very, very few songs have words with 3 or 4 or 5 syllables in them. You'll never find a song with words like this. Now, let's go back to this whole idea of what is poetry. This is what poetry is about. These are the elements of a good poem. This is what strikes you when you read a poem. How do we know? Well, nursery rhymes were great poems. The song lyrics that you love feature many of these elements. Think about that. You remember the words to a dozen nursery rhymes and songs from your teens and your college years, but you can't remember where you put your car keys or what you were supposed to pick up at the grocery store. Why? How does that happen? Well, let's go back to this whole idea of what the elements of poetry are. Today, you're not writing poems, I guess. What we're talking about here is connecting poems and Home Depot buckets to your business writing. Your business writing includes letters, memos, reports, proposals, evaluations. That's generally called prose. Well, what is prose? Guess what? It's the same thing as poetry. The only difference is that you don't have rhyme. The difference between poetry and other forms of writing is that poems sometimes rhyme. Notice this word, poems sometimes rhyme. Not all poems rhyme. Many of you probably remember hearing or reading or talking about this poem in school, Fog by Carl Sandburg. That poem doesn't rhyme, but it's a beautiful piece of poetry without rhyme. Some of you may also be familiar with haiku. Haiku is a 3-line poem that captures your imagination, but it's very strict. The first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7, and the third line has 5. Don't panic. Let me show you what this is all about. I wrote this poem, Big Number 7. Big Number 7 launches missiles on target, bringing victory. Now, if you think about that, if you're a sports fan from Pittsburgh, you immediately think of Ben Roethlisberger. But if you're from Denver, you think of John Elway. Boomer Esiason became famous in Cleveland. Joe Theismann was in Washington. And Doug Flutie wore number 7 in Buffalo. But wait a while. If you're a hockey fan, Big Number 7 can only relate to Phil Esposito. For me, Big Number 7 was always Mickey Mantle. Now for gamers think about Silo number 7. Poetry without rhyme. That's what that haiku verse was. Let me show you some more poems without rhyme. The greatest poem without rhyme that was ever written is the Lord's Prayer. Some of you may say it's the Pledge of Allegiance. Some of you may say it's the Gettysburg Address. But all 3 of these are examples of brilliant prose, but also examples of brilliant poetry. Let's tie all of this together so it can work for you. I started my career as an English teacher. From the time I was in 4th grade until today, I love writing poems. I've published 3 books of poetry. But also, as a consultant, as a trainer, as a coach in business writing, and as a professional drummer, rhythm has always been a part of what I do. I decided a couple of years ago that I was going to go back to my roots and teach kids what this whole idea of rhythm and writing and poems are all about. And so I created a 1-hour program to tie all of this stuff together for kids. And the first thing I did was I created a rhythm band using about a dozen of the kids. And I used my percussion instruments, my cowbell, my wood blocks, my boom whackers, my tambourine, and I got Home Depot to donate a bunch of buckets that I could give away as part of the program, but as also a percussion instrument. I even brought in a washboard to keep rhythm. Now you'll notice, besides getting the kids involved in this, I got the parents and the teachers involved in the rhythm band. Guess what I taught? Very basic rhythm I learned in kindergarten. And I had them recite Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and Mary Had a Little Lamb. Now it was a noisy experience, but we learned a lot. The first thing I taught the kids was that they should read their writing out loud. See, if you read your writing to yourself, you're really not reading. You're remembering. You're skimming, you're scanning, or maybe even speed reading, looking for all those great ideas that you put into that piece of writing. So you don't even see half the words. Now, again, rhythm is an auditory experience. How many of you keep a beat, tapping your fingers or tapping your feet or clapping your hands or maybe even playing an air guitar? What is dancing all about? You don't dance to the melody. You don't dance to the words. You dance to the beat. Here's the second thing we talked about. Use a 24-hour drawer. Now what this means is if you wrote something Monday morning at 9 o'clock, put it in your desk drawer or keep it as a file on your computer until Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. And you're going to go back and you're going to find some amazing things about that. Remember speed traps? The fact that your brain is moving along at least 480 words a minute? Well, the 480 words a minute running around inside your head on Monday morning are not the same words running around Tuesday morning. And you're going to look at your writing in a completely different fashion. Here's another reason for using that 24-hour drawer. We do the writing from the creative side of our brain. We do the editing from the analytical side of our brain. And your brain needs a little bit of time to go from one side to the other. It does happen almost instantaneously, but there is a change in your thinking. So the rhythm you heard when you're writing it might not match the rhythm when you edit it. Here's the third lesson I taught the kids. Find some friends. Business writing is a team sport. Now let me show you what that team sport means though. When you write, first of all, you have to do a core dump. You have to dump all your ideas. You have to write it. Then you have to read it to yourself out loud. Then you'll edit it, do the spell check, do the grammar check, and then do the friend check. See, now that takes discipline to do all of this. What do most people do? They write it and send it out the door. But it does take a little bit of discipline. But if you get your friends involved, they are going to find things in your writing you never dreamed you put in there, because they're reading it for the first time. They're looking for your message. They're trying to figure out why that message is important to them. So remember, the difference between poetry and other forms of writing is that poems sometimes rhyme. All other forms of writing and poetry do have rhythm. Thank you for watching, and if you have questions, hey, let me know about it. Thank you.